Okay, so in today's video we're going to be learning about order of operations and substitution. So your goals for this lesson are that by the end of the lesson you'll be able to carry out operations using positive and negative numbers. So to start off with, we're going to look at order of operations. So you've probably heard of BOMDAS before, and that's just a simple way that you can actually remember what order you should carry out your operations. So the B stands for brackets. So that means you should do brackets first. So you might see something like a bracket around an equation. 5 take 3. That's a take. So you do whatever's inside the brackets first. So that's the first thing. The next thing is the O in BOMDAS, which stands for orders or powers. So for instance, you might see something like 3 squared. And if you see any powers like that, that's the next part of the operation that you'll carry out. The third thing is the M and the D. So M stands for multiplication and D is for division, but you actually do them at the same time, just working left to right. So any multiplication or any division comes next. It doesn't matter if the division is before the multiplication, you work left to right, so you can do them whichever comes first. And the last thing you do is your addition and your subtraction, and again work left to right because they actually come at the same time. So we've got a few examples that we're going to work through to start off with. So the first example there, we can see we've got 5 subtract 6 times negative 2. Now, using our BOMDAS, the first thing we look for is brackets. We have brackets. You can see there the negative 2 is in brackets. But those brackets don't actually show any operation. They're just showing that that's a negative number. So there's nothing you can actually do with those brackets. So the next thing is O, orders. So see if we've got any powers. Nope, nothing there. And then we've got M and D for multiplication and division. And as you can see there, we do have multiplication and division. We've got 6 multiplied by negative 2. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So we'll leave the 5 subtract part and we'll do the 6 multiplied by negative 2. So that's actually positive 6 multiplied by negative 2, which will give us a negative number. So it'll give us negative 12. Then we can do the subtraction or addition. We can see we've got subtraction there. So it's 5 subtract negative 12. And we remember from our other lessons that's the same as adding. So that will actually give us an answer of 17. Okay, moving on to our next example. We've got negative 21 divided by brackets 5 take in brackets negative 2 brackets. So it's looking a bit confusing, but remember our BOMDAS and we'll be able to work through it. So the first thing is brackets. Do we have brackets? Yes, we have 2 sets. Again, we've got negative 2 in brackets, and that's not actually showing any operations we have to do, it's just showing it's a negative number. So the next lot of brackets is the 5 take the negative 2. So this bit here, the 5 take the negative 2, is what we are going to do first. And I just realized I didn't set out my other answer properly, so make sure you always put an equal sign before you're working. So I'll just fix it up there. Sorry. Okay, so the 5 subtract the negative 2. Again, remember when we're taking a negative, it's the same as adding. So our rest of our answer stays the same. So we've still got negative 21 divided by 5 take negative 2 is the same as addition. So that's 7. So we've done our brackets. We don't have any orders. The next thing is multiplication and division, and we have a division. So we've got negative 21 divided by 7, and we can do that. And a negative divided by a positive, as we remember from our other lessons, is going to be a negative as well. And 21 divided by 7 is going to leave us with 3. So our answer will be negative 3. Okay, and our final example here is a little bit more complex than the ones we've been doing before. But if we use BOMDAS, we'll be able to work through it quite easily. So first up is brackets. Do we have brackets? Yes, we've got 2 sets. Here we've got the negative 1 plus 3, and at the end there we've got negative 5. So if we remember the negative 5 at the end, those brackets aren't actually telling us to do anything, so we can just forget about those for the moment and just focus on the first ones. So starting with our brackets, we have got negative 1 plus 3. So if we solve that, negative 1 plus 3, that will give us an answer of 2. If you are unsure about adding or subtracting using negative integers, please make sure you draw up a number line, especially in exams, because if you're unsure at all, draw up a number line, work through that, and it'll really help you out. So we've got 2, the rest of the equation stays the same because we just do the brackets first. So with 2 multiplied by 3 plus 4 squared plus 7, take 5 divided by negative 5. Negative, thank you. So the next thing after we're doing our brackets is our O for orders. Now, do we have any powers there? Yes, we do. You can see here we've got the 4 squared. So that means 4 times 4. And that's the thing we do after brackets. So that's the next part we'll do. Everything else will stay the same. We'll just answer that orders part. So it's still going to be 2 multiplied by 3 plus. Now this is when we do our orders. So 4 squared, 4 times 4, which is 16. So plus 16 plus 7, take 5 divided by negative 5. So working through BOMDAS, we've done brackets, we've done orders, now we're up to M and the D, and the multiplication and division. Do we have multiplication and division in this? Yes, we do. We've actually got a bit of both. So we're going to work through left to right. So the first time we see multiplication and division is at the start. We've got 2 multiplied by 3. So 2 multiplied by 3 will leave us with 6 plus 16 plus 7, subtract, and then we can do the division. So 5 divided by negative 5. So that's positive 5 divided by negative 5, which means we're going to have a negative answer, and it'll be negative 1. So we've done brackets, we've done orders, we've done multiplication, we've done division. The last thing we have to do is addition and subtraction. So you can see there we do have addition and subtraction, so we're just working left to right. So 16 plus 6, if we add that together, that'll give us 22, plus 7, 29. We'll take negative 1, which is the same as adding. So it's the same as doing plus 1. And then I've forgotten what our answer was. 22 plus 7, 29, 30. So that will leave us with an answer of 30. So you can see that we've gone from a complex equation using BOMDAS working all the way through. So just make sure you remember BOMDAS. Brackets first, orders, then multiplication and division. It doesn't matter which comes first of those, just work left to right. And last, addition and subtraction. Again, it doesn't matter which comes first, just work left to right for that one. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do in this video is called substitution. So expressions can be evaluated if we substitute numbers in for the given variables. So variables are just things like A or B or other letters that represent numbers that we don't actually know what they are. So for instance, we've got an expression right here that says A subtract 3B. So we can't actually do anything with that because A and B aren't numbers, so we can't solve it or evaluate or do anything like that. But what we can do is if we substitute in values for A and B, so substitute numbers in instead of those letters, we can actually solve the equation. So it says there, if A equals -2 and B equals -4, evaluate the following. So what that means, it just means substitute in, everywhere you see an A, replace it with a -2, everywhere you see a B, replace it with a -4. And if we do that, we will actually be able to evaluate the expression. So A, we know A is going to be a -2. -2. So A subtract 3B, and we know B is going to be a -4 times -4. So then we can use our BOMDAS to actually solve that equation. So do we have any brackets? Yes, we do. But again, it's just showing us that these are negative numbers. It's not actually telling us to do anything. So then we'll move on. O for orders. Do we have any powers? Not in that one. M and D, multiplication, division. Yes, we do have multiplication. So the -2 at the start, it's going to stay there because we're not doing anything with it yet. Subtract, not up to that yet, but we can do the 3 multiplied by -4. Now remember, when we do a positive number, which is our 3, multiplied by a negative number, which is -4, we're going to get another negative. So 3 times -4 is going to be -12. Then we can move on with BOMDAS, addition and subtraction. We do have subtraction there, so that's what we'll do next. So in this case, we've got -2 subtract -12. And remember, when you subtract a negative, it's actually the same as adding it on. So it's kind of the same as doing -2 plus 12, which will give us an answer of 10. So you can see that we actually solved that equation. So we actually evaluated that equation, I should say, because we've substituted in the numbers -2 and -4 instead of those unknowns, instead of the variables. Now, just letting you know A won't always equal -2 and B won't always equal -4. They could represent any number of numbers or any number of integers. It's just this specific question specified what they are. So always read the question, make sure you realize what the variables are going to be equal to. So we're going to do another example. You can see here we've got A and B, but this time they have different values. This time A is going to be -3 and B is going to be 5. So again, we're going to substitute in those values instead of the variables. So every time we see an A, we're going to substitute a -3. Every time we see a B, we're going to substitute a +5. So we've got in brackets A plus B, and we're going to start our substitutions. So substitute in -3 for A, and then for B, we're going to substitute in our 5. And then we're going to multiply that by -5. So we can then evaluate our equation using BOMDAT. B is for brackets. Do we have brackets? Yes, we do. And what is it telling us to do in the brackets? Well, there's two sets of brackets. The one on the left there is -3 plus 5. And we can do that. So -3 plus 5 is going to leave us, I'll just get rid of that, sorry, with 2. And multiplied by the second set of brackets is just telling us that it's a negative. So it's left us with 2 multiplied by -5, and we can evaluate that. We know when doing a positive multiplied by a negative, we're going to get another negative. So 2 multiplied by -5 is going to give us -10. So hopefully that clears it up. That's how you can substitute in numbers. And remember, always work through BOMDAS. BOMDAS. So there's a few exercises that you can get started with on your textbook. Make sure you do practice these because these are really valuable skills and they're kind of your foundation for your maths work. So you're going to use these a lot all through school and all into the real world. So make sure that you actually get a handle on how to do this. If you're unsure, please come and see me. I'm more than happy to help.